The apartment smelled faintly of her perfume, the scent lingering like a cruel joke. I'd arrived home early from work, excitement fluttering in my chest, our anniversary. I imagined her greeting me with that smile I had loved for years, arms wrapped around me, the world shrinking to just the two of us. But the silence that greeted me was wrong. Heavier than it should have been, suffocating. The lights were dim, the TV off, the bed untouched. And then I saw it. Her laptop open, the screen glowing with an email she had typed but never sent. Dinner with my mentor tonight. Don't worry, I'll make it up to you. I reread the words, trying to convince myself I had misinterpreted it. Work mentor. Just professional. Right? But the words "don't worry" and "make it up to you" burned like acid in my mind. My heart started pounding and a cold, rational part of me whispered, this isn't normal. I wandered into the kitchen hoping for a clue, a note, anything. And that's when my phone buzzed. A photo. Her and him in a restaurant booth, champagne flutes clinking. Her head tilted toward him like she belonged there. My pulse hammered against my ribs. My fingers trembled so violently I almost dropped the phone. I paced, the apartment feeling smaller, suffocating. I replayed every recent interaction, every late night, every secretive text she had brushed off. Each memory stung like salt in an open wound. I wanted to scream, to confront her, to deny the reality. But I also wanted to vanish, to disappear into a place where betrayal didn't exist. Hours passed. The apartment darkened, the only light coming from the street lamps outside, casting long, accusing shadows. And then a thought, a dangerous, impossible thought, crept into my mind. What if I didn't wait? What if I acted? I dialed his number, fingers cold, voice steady even though my chest felt like it would split open. Hey, I said when he picked up. This is, well, you know. My voice faltered and I swallowed. I think your wife might need a friend tonight. There was a pause on the other end, then carefully measured. You're serious? Yes. Spend the night here. The words felt wrong as soon as I said them. Morally gray, dangerous, exhilarating. But I wanted him to feel it. To understand what betrayal tasted like. It wasn't long before she arrived. His wife, delicate, refined, soft-spoken. She carried herself with the elegance of someone who knew she belonged in polite company, and yet there was an underlying tension, a wariness in her eyes as she stepped inside. I offered her a glass of wine. She accepted, hands slightly shaking. I wasn't expecting this, she admitted. Neither was I said, my voice calm but my stomach twisting. But she went out with your husband tonight. I thought you should be somewhere safe. Her lips pressed together. So, you're letting me stay here? Yes. I watched her process it, the gears turning in her mind, the betrayal mirrored in her expression. And in that moment I realized how much I had underestimated pain. Betrayal was a mirror, reflecting not only the cheater but the cheated, duplicating the heartbreak in the eyes of the innocent. We talked. Not about our spouses, not in accusatory tones, but in whispered confessions of fear, of heartbreak, of quiet desperation. I told her about the email, the photos. She told me about the lingering late nights, the subtle distance, the words her husband didn't say. Slowly, a fragile understanding formed between us, two wounded people bound by the same cruelty. Somewhere in the quiet of that night, a storm raged outside. Rain streaked the windows, tapping against the glass in frantic, irregular bursts. Lightning flashed, illuminating our apartment in stark, cold bursts. And with each flash I could feel the betrayal, the anger, the sadness all intertwining, gnawing at me. Sleep came reluctantly. I lay on the couch, hearing her in the next room, the gentle rustle of her movements like a fragile heartbeat. And I thought about her, my wife. About the years we had spent together, the promises, the intimacy, the laughter. And I thought about him, and the sick, twisted sense of justice I had tried to impose by letting his wife stay under my roof. Morning arrived, hesitant, gray. She was awake before me, standing by the window with a cup of tea, staring out at the wet streets below. I joined her, silence stretching between us like a thin wire. You did the right thing, she said quietly, even if it's unconventional. I nodded, unable to argue. Sometimes doing the right thing doesn't feel right at all. She smiled faintly, and I realized she was smiling not because she was happy, but because survival demanded it. Because betrayal demanded it. And for the first time, I understood that life didn't care about fairness, about morality, about the neat lines we drew between right and wrong. Life just happened, and we stumbled through, trying to protect ourselves in the wreckage of other people's choices. We parted with a quiet hug, a brief touch, a shared acknowledgement of wounds too deep to heal immediately. And as I watched her leave, I felt a flicker of clarity, anger, heartbreak, and moral ambiguity blending into one. I returned to the empty apartment, feeling the weight of its silence, the absence of her presence now more tangible than any accusation could make it. Later that day, my wife returned. The apartment smelled faintly of rain, of tea, of the residue of last night's confessions. She smiled, oblivious, casually, as if the world hadn't shifted beneath her feet. "Happy anniversary," she said, leaning in for a kiss. I pulled back. My chest ached, my mind spun with the knowledge of what I had discovered, what I had orchestrated, and what consequences were yet to come. "Happy anniversary," I repeated, my voice steady, almost too calm. "We have a lot to talk about." She froze just slightly, but the glint in her eyes, that tiny flicker of fear, told me she understood that the balance had shifted. That night, betrayal had been met with an equally sharp, quiet reckoning. And for the first time in years, I realized I didn't have to wait for truth to reveal itself. I could shape it, slowly, painfully, beautifully.